All right, let's talk about business, specifically those big, high-stakes choices that you just can't undo. Today, we are diving deep into one of the toughest decisions a leader ever has to face, the trade-off. Do you go for the immediate, easy-to-count profit, or do you invest in something with long-term sustainable value? Now, this isn't just some abstract theory. This is a real-world problem of where to put your resources. So, let's get into it. I want you to picture this. You're in the boardroom. You are the developer. You've got the capital, you've got the team, and you've got this perfect, pristine piece of coastal land in Tanjung Lesung. The pressure is on, big time. You only get one shot at this. One single development, and there are no do-overs. So, what's the move? This is a classic capital allocation problem. The kind of decision that can make or break a company's entire legacy.
So, sitting in front of you, on the table, are two very distinct paths. Both of them promise success. That's the tricky part. But each one demands a totally different kind of sacrifice, and they're built on completely different ideas about what the future market is even going to look like. Let's break down the two options you're weighing.
Okay, on one hand, you've got option A, the huge beachfront resort. This is your volume play, right? It's designed for high immediate cash flow because you're targeting the mass market. The whole business model is about economies of scale. Pack in as many rooms as possible to drive down the average cost per guest. But then you have option B, the eco park. This is a totally different strategy. This is the long game. Here, you're building a sustainable brand that attracts a premium niche type of customer. And this is crucial. It protects your main asset, the natural environment, the coral reefs. You're basically betting on the growth of eco-conscious tourism and being able to charge a much higher price for it.
So, how do you even begin to compare these two? It really feels like you're weighing apples and oranges. You've got this high, pretty predictable cash flow right now, versus a potentially higher but way less certain value sometime down the road. Well, thankfully, there's a core economic principle that gives us the perfect framework for making this exact kind of decision.
And that key is opportunity cost. It's a really simple idea, but wow, is it powerful. Basically, opportunity cost is the value of whatever you didn't choose. In business, we get so focused on the explicit costs, right? The money we're actually spending. But the most important costs are often the ones you can't see, the profits you could have made if you'd picked the other option. See, the true cost of any decision is the benefit you have to give up. This is the fundamental difference between what an accountant sees as profit and what a real economist sees as economic profit. Let's apply this. So you decide to build the resort. On paper, your accounting profit might look fantastic, but what's the opportunity cost? It's the entire potential value of that eco park you decided not to build. You've just given up the premium brand, the higher profit margins from luxury ecotourism, and maybe most importantly, the protected, long-term value of the pristine environment itself. That's a huge cost. All right, now let's flip it. You choose the eco park. You're building a sustainable legacy. You're protecting the environment. Great. But what's your opportunity cost? It's the resort. You have actively sacrificed years of that high-volume, immediate cash flow. All that capital could have been earning a solid return for you starting right away. So the big takeaway here is there is no choice without a cost. A really savvy manager has to weigh not just the checks they're writing, but also the opportunities they're walking away from. But hold on, this decision isn't just about the money you make versus the money you give up. Any smart manager knows the real impact goes way beyond the financial statements. There are these ripple effects, what we economists call externalities. These are the invisible costs and benefits that are going to shape the entire region for years, maybe even decades to come. And this table here, it just lays out those ripples perfectly. This is the triple bottom line in action: people, planet, and profit. Think about it. The resort model, well, it risks creating a negative environmental externality. It could actually degrade the very thing that brings tourists there in the first place. The eco park, on the other hand, is trying to create a positive one. And then look at the people impact. The resort, it creates more jobs, sure, but they're mostly low-skilled jobs. The eco park creates fewer jobs, but they're higher-skilled roles, like biologists and expert guides. That could build a whole different kind of local economy. As the developer, you have to think about these community and environmental impacts long before you ever break ground. And this brings us right to the heart of the dilemma. We've moved way beyond a simple calculation of profit and loss here. Now, we're being forced to confront a much deeper, much more difficult question of what things are actually worth, a question of valuation. And this, right here, is the ultimate question. Look, anyone can add up the revenue from a bunch of hotel rooms. That's just math. But how do you put a price tag on a living ecosystem? How do you quantify the future value of a brand that people trust, or the long-term economic health of an entire community? That is the real challenge. And it's a question that forces us, it forces you, to decide what you truly value.